As I went over a bit before, biophilic design is not achieved simply by using one element of nature. It needs to affiliate with the experience of the natural world, life, and lifelike. So incorporating all of the sensory elements of the natural world into your environmental design. And so moving forward in my understanding of biophilic design, I wanted to understand what these spaces feel, smell, and look like. And so walking through the forest, you hear the crunch of the leaves, you smell fresh air, you don't smell air conditioning. You noticed all the small little details in leaves, like this leaf is shaped differently than this one. That visual variety that I went over before, that makes it so easy just to relax in nature. This led me into my design ideative phases. And my first two buckets of design ideas were immersive acoustic solutions and standalone storage and acoustic wall application of solutions. And both of these utilized biophilic elements within them. I felt like these solutions were far too large scale. Incorporating storage into my solution, I felt distracted from my original purpose, and as well as deviated from my research. And didn't really fully apply the ideas I was looking to move forward with. And this pushed me into a simple application of acoustic panels. And so looking back on those PET panels that were flexible, however, the issue was mainly in its materiality, I wanted to apply a biophilic solution that works within the same market, but uses more sustainable and mindful materiality. And I started off way overworking, way overthinking this issue, or this concept, I mean. And as you can see, I get more and more simple through my design application until I get to my final form here, which is just a frame that emphasizes organic and asymmetrical forms. I wanted to continue the idea of biophilia through my form design, and not create a super rigid and sharp-edged frame, because I feel like nature rounds off nature's organic and flowing, as you can see in a lot of my sketches here. And development of my base, I wanted to keep this a pretty recessed detail. I wanted it to be unobtrusive and complementary to the frame, to the frame shape. And so I found that using another natural form actually felt more visually obtrusive, as I wasn't really able to perfectly mimic the curve of the organic form without it feeling like it was just two mirrored objects and it felt like a near miss. And so I ended up going with a pretty basic square just in the corner of the frame, and the frame wedges in between it. And that's what supports the frame and allows it to stand up with these two little legs here, and then the square frame of the base. And this is my final application. It was, did not mean to click forward. As you can see, I have a pretty organic application in my frame, and this was the little square guy I was talking about earlier for the base. It has a peg in the bottom there, a little foot that allows it to stand up and balance. I created this in real space through a very long stages of prototyping. The final product was made out of Baltic birch plywood, furniture grade plywood, and it was stained with like a warm maple stain, but that's not important. The final frame was CNC cut and applied in two halves in between a moss board that was built on, actually, believe it or not, a base of cardboard. And all of the moss was hand placed using PVA glue. The moss was all reindeer and sheep moss, which are all naturally occurring in Iowa. And it's important to note that this is all preserved moss, not living moss, which is different. Preserved moss is preserved using silica gel and biodegrades in about 10 years. Preserved moss was a consideration in my original design, but living moss is pretty hard to maintain homeostasis within its system. It would dry out super fast. It would require a lot of upkeep as far as keeping it moisturized in a humid enough environment to stay alive. And this introduced too many unknown factors into the application of this in an office, and so I decided it'd be safer just to go with preserved moss. And this is my final project. Thank you so much for listening. I learned so much about environment design and how people function within their spaces through this project, as well as a lot about prototyping. This was an awesome project, and I had a great time doing it. Thank you for listening.